Okay, good morning, everyone, or hello from wherever you are in the world. I'm sure we have some people from other countries in attendance today, but good morning from New York. Welcome to our admissions information session for the MS in Data Science here at the Center for Data Science in New York University. So a quick run through of our agenda for today. We will be having a welcome from our Director of Graduate Studies for the MS program, Professor Joan Bruna is here. We'll then go do an overview of the MS program, the curriculum, the admissions and application process, and then some information about our career placement, professional development initiative, and then a Q&A with some of our current students as well as staff members that are present here as well. All right, so I will kick it off to you, Joan. Let me stop sharing my screen and then you
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you, Francheska. And welcome, everyone. I'm Joan Bruna. I'm the Director of Graduate Studies, and I'm going to be spending a few minutes presenting you our master's program and generally who we are and why you should come here. So yeah, first about me. So I'm a associate professor of computer science, data science, and mathematics here at the Center for Data Science and also the Quran Institute here at NYU. I'm also spending time at the Flatiron Institute, which is part of the Simon Foundation. And yeah, I'm here today speaking with my role of Director of Graduate Studies here at the master's program. All right. So what is data science? And so here, I mean, the master's program is really built along this discipline that is, as you know, it's something quite recent, right? Over the 20 years ago, it didn't really make sense. And so here, maybe one thing that captures my philosophy of what I think about data science is really about the blend of two cultures, right? Really two different things that were very different many years ago. That is this more like statistical method of trying to just build very precise models about things that we understand about the world, that now we have combined it with the other mindset, which is the mindset of more of the computational, right? Of, okay, if we don't know anything, we can just use as many resources, as many amount of, computational resources, amounts of data as we can. And somehow data science is born out of the mixing of these two cultures. And maybe you might know this very influential article. This is Leo Reiman, who was a very influential professor of statistics at Berkeley. And somehow we are now sons of this this change of paradigm that started, already 20 years ago. And so today, it's now data science is everywhere, right? I mean, I think there's no industry that we can think of that it's not affected by the skills that that define data science today. Going from politics, law, engineering, many disciplines. And not only is an academic discipline that is really now transforming different scientific fields, right? That is kind of building new connections between mathematics, computer science, biology, natural language, etc. Also, in terms of industrial outcomes, we are really in the golden age of data science, right? I mean, it's consistently the most demanded job according to many rankings that exist. This is today, and what about tomorrow? So as you know, tomorrow, we don't know, we might be completely replaced by AIs. AI is really changing the world as we speak. What are the best tools that we know if we want to understand, affect, be drivers of this revolution for tomorrow? I think you are in the right place, right? I mean, as I will explain next, understanding how AI, this technology is built and how to apply it safely and how to develop it and how to understand it. This is also one of the core disciplines that we are teaching here in the master's program. So Center for Data Science. So it's not a department, it's what we call a promotional center, which means that it doesn't depend on any particular school or department. It's kind of an independent unit within the New York University. It has 10 years, it's 10 years old. And right now it's directed by my colleague and friend, Carlos. And this is the building that we are in. So both me, Francheska, and maybe Catherine we are sitting in this building that you see here. And this is also a very nice historic building that I always like to highlight. Right? We are really in a very nice area of the city. This is an old building that was actually built by the same architectural architects as famous landmarks in the city, like the Public Library and the Empire State. This is a nice place. But of course, it's also nice that we are now in CDS. It's not just a place where we develop cutting-edge science in a nice building. It's also a community that is first, sustained by the amazing staff that we have that help us in all the administrative and also academic affairs. We also have a very large cohort of growing PhD students that are really doing very nice research. Again, connecting these disciplines that I mentioned about. We also have faculty fellows, which are kind of junior faculty starting their careers. And so they are really independent, and here we, really enriching the community that we have at data science. And also we have about 21 faculty that are, as I said, connecting, data science with each of them with their own particular field of expertise. As you can see here, we are really covering a very nice and wide spectrum of different scientific areas that somehow all talk together through this culture of data science, right? So we have expertise in healthcare, in theory, statistics and mathematics, natural language processing, cognitive science, audio processing, neuroscience. All these things are very represented here by our faculty. So the master's program, as I said, it started really at the same time as at the center itself. And now it really reached this steady state where we keep a very, very selective cohort of about 170 students every cohort every year. The acceptance rate is one of the most selective in the country in this area, and we are very proud of our alumni. I mean, the big majority of them have very, very excellent job placements. And we are, the alumni community is something that we are also proud of because we are keeping quite close to them. So just a very brief word about what is the curriculum, what is the topics that are going to be taught here at the masters. So as you can see, we have a pretty well balanced mix between topics that are more like foundational, right, giving you the kind of the analytic skills to really understand and also even develop methodology in data science, as well as application, right? So tools to actually, develop these methods at scale and also apply them into different disciplines, right? So we have and this is something that we do through what we call these electives, right? That are typically going to apply, focus on a certain application area, right? Of course, you can see here, there's a lot of AI presence. There's a lot of, also applications to science. And also this notion of AI, like responsible AI, right? Or like ethical implications. All right, so for prospective students, I think here what one of the things that, the big assets that we offer and that we kind of, expect you to have is if you come to choose us is that you really have, incredibly broad range of possibilities after you graduate from this program, right? You can either go to research. We have a few graduates that, go to research afterwards. You can go to essentially virtually any job that involves software engineering. And also we have also a big presence of entrepreneurship amongst our alumni. So what are the things that we ask of prospective students, the things that we will be looking at when we review applications? It's important to have technical proficiency, right? So it's really like a very analytical program. So we are really putting a strong emphasis on mathematical foundations, statistical foundations. Programming and skills are also an important aspect of the program. And we also are proud to welcome everyone in the discipline, right? So we are happy, and we are it's a young discipline, and we are willing to keep it as diverse and welcoming as possible to everyone, irrespective of the origin. And also, personal narrative is something that we typically value a lot, right? So explain us why for you this is a good move for you, and why it makes sense in your career path. So this is everything I wanted to say. And if there are some questions, I'm here also, as well as my the staff, Francheska and others, are going to be very happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joan. Yeah, most of the questions I'm seeing, I think we'll cover in the rest of the slides.
All right.
So awesome, thank you. Okay, so I will switch over to me. What is my screen? Let me try it again. Okay. Alrighty. So to continue on, my name is Francheska Jimenez, and I am the graduate program administrator here at CDS. So alongside Catherine Angelis and Tina Lamb, I work with our graduate students, especially our students in the MS program. So I'll be presenting more information on the program here. So Joan, Professor Bruna already kind of mentioned some of our leadership and staff here at CDS. So just to quickly run through some of these people that you may encounter if you join us at the program, or if you are sending questions to us via email to find out information about the program, you may hear from some of these folks. So currently our interim director of CDS is Professor Carlos Fernandez Granda. Our deputy director is Professor Kyung-Hyun Cho. And then again, our director of graduate studies for the MS program is Professor Joan Bruna. Oops. Our director of administration and operations is Remy Moss. Director of academic and student affairs is Catherine Angelis, who's here with us today. Assistant Director for undergraduate programs, Timothy Baker, and then again, Assistant Director for graduate programs is Tina Lamb. Myself, and then my counterpart on the undergraduate side is Caleb Chrisley. And then we have several other administrative staff members that support us in various ways in the department. So our web designer and content creator, Ashley McDonald, our department administrator, Chastity Hidalgo, and then our administrative aides, Joshua Gilmore, Tiffany Puntumpo, and then Amy Zambrana. So another overview of our curriculum for the MS program. So as Professor Bruna mentioned, we require students to complete 36 credits for the program, and there are 6 required courses as part of this. So our introduction to data science course, probability and statistics, machine learning, big data, the capstone project, and then 1 data science elective. So typically students will be taking the first 2 courses in their first semester in the program if enrolled full-time, in addition to a 3rd course, which would be an elective of the students choosing. The probability and statistics course can be waived if students have previous coursework in this area. So that is potentially another opportunity for students to fill that course requirement with another elective. And then machine learning and big data are to be completed in the 2nd semester of the program. Capstone is then completed in the 2nd year, the 1st semester. And then the other electives can be completed throughout the program. So this schedule or breakdown could look a little differently if you are pursuing the program as a part-time student, but typically that is the format that students would be completing the program in. So general electives can also include if students are interested in completing internships and receiving credit for it. Internships can count towards the elective credits, independent studies, and then courses through other departments such as math, computer science, or courses from other schools at NYU. And then we also have industry concentration and a biomedical track as well, which I'll cover here. So for the data science general track, those requirements that I mentioned before would fall under here. Students are also welcome to declare an area of interest, which is mostly used as a advisory tool. It's not a requirement as part of the general track. Only if students are interested in pursuing a specific area of interest, such as big data, math and data, or natural language processing, then courses that we offer provide more structure for students to complete in the specific area. And then for the data science, biomedical informatics, medical school track, this is for students who are typically more interested in the field of biomedical informatics, and then there are specific electives that are required to be taken through the School of Medicine. And then finally, our industry concentration, which is for students interested in the industry targeted coursework and practical training. So for the most part, the requirements for this concentration are the same. It just requires students to complete an internship within their first year in the program. So that could be either the first, second, or third semester. So first fall semester, first spring semester, or the summer, during the first summer semester in the program. And then there are 2 additional required courses, either within big data or natural language processing, depending on what the student is interested in. So to go over what part-time at CDS would look like. So as I mentioned, the program is designed to be completed in 2 years of full-time study, but we do have students that attend part-time, so it is possible. For domestic students, or if you are an international student and your visa allows for it, there is the option to complete the program on a part-time basis, and that would be less than 9 credits. So full-time is considered 9 credits each semester. If you aim to pursue the program part-time, you would have to complete the degree within 5 years, so that is something to keep in mind. And then we do also want to emphasize that while we try our best to ensure that classes are offered at a variety of times and usually in the late afternoon or evenings, this isn't a guarantee because we also have to be mindful of faculty availability and also other factors such as classroom availability, things like that, that are managed by the larger university and things that are essentially outside of our control. And so often there may be classes that are offered during the daytime, such as electives and things like that during the day or in the morning. So if students that are interested in the part-time option, you would want to make sure that either your job allows for the flexibility of potentially having to take a class during the day, or that you're mindful of that it may be a little bit more challenging to complete the coursework in this format. So to go over the admissions academic profile. So this information is available on our website, and I'm sure students or prospective applicants may have some questions in the chat about this. So these prerequisites are required. There is no flexibility with this. So we do expect you to have taken coursework in either in all of these areas. So Calculus 1, linear algebra, Intro to Computer Science, or an equivalent course, either Calculus 2, probability and statistics, or some other advanced physics, engineering, or econometrics course. And so applicants that have prior exposure to these areas, such as machine learning, statistics, data mining, et cetera, will of course be considered because you've already received the necessary knowledge. So also I just want to emphasize that if you have taken courses that cover the same course material or learning objectives listed here, but may not necessarily have the course title listed here. So for instance, a course in economics that may have covered the same criteria as Calculus 2 or statistics or probability. that coursework would still be eligible even if it doesn't have the same name. So we mostly are just looking for to ensure that you are receiving the same curriculum that is outlined here, but it's fine if it doesn't have the same course name. And then for the application requirements, so the TEFL or IELTS are required if you are not a native English speaker or do not have a bachelor's or master's degree from an institution where the language of instruction is English. So TEFL is preferred, but we do, of course, still accept the IELTS. We do not accept Duolingo as a substitution for this, so please keep that in mind. For these exams, the home editions are accepted, so you are encouraged to do that if that format is a preferred or a better option for you. We require college transcripts as part of the application requirement, so you can upload unofficial transcripts in the meantime, as long as they are official from your university and have the signature from your school's either registrar office or authorized department. But an official transcript would be required prior to matriculating into the program. So that is also something to keep in mind. 3 letters of recommendation. This is preferred to be on letterhead and signed by whoever your recommenders are. But again, this is a preferred or preference. So if you are requesting a letter from someone who may not have access to that, that is also okay, but it's a preferred thing from us. We also require a statement of academic purpose. And then for this upcoming admission cycle, the GRE is optional. And so to clarify this, which I'm sure is another question being asked as well, is by what we mean by GRE optional. You are welcome to submit if you would like, but it will only be considered in cases where if there is other gaps in your application. So someone that submits the GRE versus someone who doesn't submit it is not going to get a preference over that other person. So yeah, so I did cover this a little just now, but to emphasize this again, we do have a holistic review of our applications. So again, if you are submitting the GRE, we do not have a cutoff for that. It is just a way to help support your application if otherwise you feel there may be concerns about your academic ability or to support in any gaps in your application. For the TEFL, the requirement is at least a score of 100 overall, and generally a band score of at least 7 for the IELTS. For the statement of academic purpose, you do want to make sure that you are discussing why you want to study data science, but make sure that this isn't necessarily just like a general thing you're discussing. You really should make sure to highlight why it's important for you and what motivates you and makes you passionate about this field, and not just, using buzzwords such as like it's, an up and coming area of study or something like that. We've seen it all at this point. So just make sure that you are speaking towards your own personal experience and why you specifically want to study this. Great letters of recommendation. So recommenders should describe how you stood out or be able to speak highly of your ability to, be able to succeed in an academic graduate program. And then again, making sure to highlight your programming experience. Python is used most frequently in the program. So if you perhaps are coming from a background that is not from a STEM program, or maybe you're from a social science or economics or something like that, obviously data science is an interdisciplinary study, and we do welcome and encourage students from all academic backgrounds to join us. But it is necessary to have some foundation in these programming languages. So making sure that you have, you demonstrate that you have some knowledge in that area as well. So the GSAS Application Resource Center also highlights a lot of important frequently asked questions. You can also find the online application there. So we definitely encourage you to check out these websites as well. There's a ton of questions that are being answered there. So make sure to check that out. And if you do have any questions, you are welcome to reach out to either GSAS or the CDS admissions email. So tuition, scholarships, and financial aid. Students pay per credit for tuition. And as I mentioned, the MS degree requires 36 credits. So you can see the current rate of NYU tuition at this link here. Obviously, this changes each year. So this is something to be mindful of when applying and ensuring that this is something that would be possible for you. CDS does have limited scholarships, and so all of our applicants are considered by the admissions committee at the time of the review process, so there's no separate application or deadline for this. All applicants are considered for this, but again, it's very limited and competitive, so we cannot guarantee that this would be available to many applicants or accepted students. For more information about financial aid, we encourage you to look at the NYU admissions financial aid page. There's more information there for what types of financial aid available to graduate students, both domestic and international students. All right, so important dates. The application is open, so make sure to get started on that if you are interested in applying. The deadline for the fall 2024 admission cycle is January 22nd, 2024 at 5 p.m. EST. So as a reminder, we only admit for the fall semester. We do not have spring admissions whatsoever. All materials, including letters of recommendations, are due at that time. So please ensure that you are taking any necessary exams very well in advance to ensure that we receive those scores in time. Make sure to ask for your letters of recommendation well in advance as well to ensure that they are received in time. And unfortunately, we cannot accept any updates after the deadline. We do have very tight timeline for reviewing applications. And so anything that would be received after that would not be able to be considered. It could just further delay the process for us. We also do not offer rolling admissions. So we start reading the applications after the deadline, no time before that. And then admissions decisions are likely released around mid-March. All right, so next is our career placement and professional development initiative. At CDS, we have our own separate initiative from the university to help our students develop their professional skills and connect with companies and organizations for internships and full-time opportunities in data science. So this may look like both career advising, recruiting events, and company sessions, professional development workshops, and collaboration with the Wasserman Career Center, which is NYU's Career Center for Career Development. And so what some of these recruiting events and company sessions look like are our company information sessions. And so we invite companies to join us either in person or virtually to host a session to discuss what their company is about, what they do, what kind of projects they work on, essentially a day in the life of a data scientist or someone in a data scientist role at their company. And then there will be a representative from the human resources side to discuss then what it looks like to apply for a job at this company and what recruitment looks like there. We also may have a career fair, and this is usually a smaller version of like a job fair where typically a job fair would have like maybe over 50 companies or so, which NYU does have for the entire university. So our students obviously are able to attend those events as well. The career fair at CDS is a smaller scale, so usually 4 to 7 companies are within that range or perhaps more will attend this event in person at CDS to recruit students for opportunities at their organization. And this also just provides another opportunity for one-on-one interactions with representatives at the company. And then our professional development sessions, which are composed of workshops to help students develop their professional skills. So this could look like resume reviews, interview resources, which could be mock interviews or practice or tips from alumni or speakers, on successful interviewing, both technical or behavioral interviewing skills, and also workshops on communication skills. So these are some statistics on our post-grad placement. So the information is a little outdated. We're still working on updating for our most recent class, which takes some time to collect the data as this information is self-reported by our alumni. But for the most part, the data tends to stay around the same. So our class of 2022, we had 128 students, and then out of those 128, we received this data from 118. So about 75% reported having a full-time job after graduation. And then one student continued their education. So that means that they continued on to a PhD program. A majority of the alumni were in the tech industry, and then we had another large portion in the finance, then smaller percentage in biotech, healthcare, and then the other category was mostly a variety. So this could be entertainment, insurance, publishing, nonprofit organizations, government, et cetera, et cetera. So a wider range of industries. And then the salary range, we're typically seeing from $110,000 to $240,000. Okay, so we'll now switch over to a Q&A with our admissions ambassadors who are here with us today. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen so that we can actually see everyone. There we go. So we'll start off with some introductions from our ambassadors. I just have a few kind of guiding questions to ask them first, and then we'll probably try to handle some of these questions in the chat. There's a lot, but I'm sure we'll cover as many as we can. And then if we aren't able to get to you today or get to a question you had today, then we'll definitely feel free to definitely email our ambassadors or us at the CDS admissions email. And we're happy to, of course, provide more information or clarify anything. So to get started, I'll ask our panelists or our ambassadors to state your name, your preferred pronouns, your background. So by background, where you're from, and then what your undergraduate degree was in and where, and then what your field of interest is. So are you interested in going into finance or tech, or are you interested in NLP, big data, deep learning, whatever? So Ridhika, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, hello. I'm Ridhika. I use she, her pronouns. I am from Mumbai, India. I completed my undergrad at Grinnell College in Math and Economics in 2020. After that, I worked in consulting and economic consulting for 2 years before joining the master's program. I'm currently interested in applying data science in the tech industry, but I'm also looking for applications in more socioeconomic related causes. Yeah.
Thank you. Chen?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Chen. My pronouns are she, her as well. I'm from Shanghai, China. I completed my undergrad at George Washington University, graduated in 2019 with a degree in finance and international business. After that, I worked in investment management for 3 years. And with this master's, I'm looking to either take my career in investment management further or pivot into consulting.
Thank you. Aryan?
Hi, my name's Aryan. I go by he, him. I completed my undergrad in 2022. So I came straight from undergrad and I did it in electronics and communication engineering back in India. Uh, my interest field is like very generalistic data science where I'm trying to like take business problems and convert them into the data science domain and see how that works out. So my field of interest is consulting now.
So thank you. And Hannah?
Hi everyone, my name is Hannah. I use she, her pronoun. And my background is I majored in psychology during the undergrad at Rutgers University in 2018. And I've been working in psychiatric research field for a while. And I'm also currently working as a data analyst at Rutgers Institute for Health. And my field of interest lies on tech. I'm pretty open, so like tech, consulting, healthcare. I want to implement the data science knowledge to solve the problems.
Thank you. Alrighty. So, this is a question that we get pretty often. And I think maybe Chen and Hannah might be able to speak on this, but of course, everyone feel free to chime in. I know that a lot of students may not come in with the CS background or STEM background, and maybe worried about how they'll do in the program or if this will impact their ability to be admitted into the program. So while we do require that we have math and programming coursework for admissions, how important do you think that has been for you in your time in the program so far? And I guess maybe if you can share, like, did you have already a background? And if not, how do you think that may have impacted your time so far in the program? So Chen, wanna start off?
Sure. I'll kick so by the time I applied, I had a statistics minor. So I did fulfill some requirements. I completed calculus 1 and 2, or the AP equivalent of those in high school. And I took some basic statistics courses that I thought was relevant. But I also was lacking in linear algebra and some similar courses in that. And the way that I closed that gap for my application was actually taking courses on EDX. And luckily, I got in. And I would say after I got admitted, I really did understand why these courses are required, because they're hugely important for everything we learn. The way this curriculum is structured, it's meant to have you build a strong foundation with the required courses, with the math and CS background that we expect you to come in with, so that in your second semester and maybe your second year, you can apply those fundamental skills in your area of interest, whether it's finance, medical, whatever it is, and take that further. But it's really important to have like a strong foundations and know like these basics well before you specialize in any particular domain. And I would say I was really appreciative of that learning curve in my first semester. And I especially appreciated the support that CDS offered in all of its courses, getting up to that level as well. It's an extremely collegiate environment, everybody helped each other out. And that definitely helped with adjusting to the learning curve. But yeah, so in summary, I think the courses required in the math and CS for admitted students are really critical to building your curriculum in data science further. But luckily, you know, for anyone that doesn't have an academic background strictly in those, there are so many options you can do to fulfill that gap, like I did, and still present your application forward for the committee.
I
Thank you
can
so
chime in a little bit more about that. So I also do not have a background in computer science or math during my undergrad, since I was majored in psychology. This program, particularly like what Chen was just mentioning, in the first year, it's very theory heavy, and it covers the algorithms and then concepts from the very fundamental level. So it's really important to fulfill the prerequisite requirements very thoroughly. Although the curriculum offers the prop stats, linear algebra, like the fundamental level mathematical, and then the programming courses like um, Python. Uh, Taking those, if you do not have a background in CS or math, I personally also recommend taking those, even though you already made the even though you already fulfilled your prerequisite during the admissions, because those have been like a great help for any other courses that I've been taking into the semesters so far.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Aryan and Ridhika, if you don't have anything else to add.
Um,
Yeah.
I can speak a little bit about the not having computer science background, because when I came to the masters, I was pretty much self-taught. I'd done like a little bit of Python. I do think that it's not required as such to take like classes, because you can always learn while taking the course. But I think the good thing about NYU is that, like, depending on what your background is, everyone learns different things from different courses. So if you have a lot of background in computer science, in machine learning already, and you take the machine learning course, you maybe get more out of it. Maybe you can focus on like the more advanced things. But whereas for me, I was able to focus more on building my foundations and learning the basics. So there is like learning avenues for everyone depending on the background that you come from.
So thank you. And then our next question, because there's a lot of these in the chat, I noticed, about recommendation letters. So I know some of you came straight from undergrad, some of you worked for a little bit. So maybe if you could share about like how you chose your recommenders, because we do emphasize folks submitting, like choosing people that are going to speak highly on their ability to perform well in this program, whether it's a previous professor or supervisor at their job. So yeah, if anyone wants to mention how you chose who your recommenders were. Or Aryan, do you want to start on that?
Yeah, so for NYU, I'd gone with 4 recommenders. One was from my internship, where I was a business analyst, so my manager was, well, really good. It was at the start of my internship, but he still had seen some of my work. Then I had one from my project mentor for a capstone project that I had done back in undergrad. The third one was from my linear algebra teacher, who I TA'd under in undergrad. And the fourth one was from my calculus teacher, also in undergrad. So I had internship, project mentor, TA, and this more professor who knew that.
Thank you. Anna?
Yeah, so I asked my recommendation letters mostly from the people who I worked with, because I decided to come back to pursue the master's degree after some gap of graduating undergrad. So it was hard for me to reach out to the undergrad professors. Even though like I worked for them during the undergrad, it was just a little hard. Um, I was kind of lucky because I was already working in the research field and then working close with data So I had been working very closely with faculties who were able to write me recommendations. So all three of my recommendations are from the faculties who I've been working closely with for their projects.
Thank you. Ridhika?
For my recommendations, I asked, I worked for 2 years before the master's, so I got one letter of recommendation from the place I worked at, and then I got two from my undergrad, one from a math professor and one from an economics professor, because I had double majored, and both of these professors I had done research with. So I think like the advice I received for letters of recommendation was just that ask people who can highlight, who can basically like show you in the best light, whether it's from your undergrad or from your workplace.
Yeah, thank you. And Jill?
So my asks for recommendation letters are pretty similar to the other ambassadors. I had my previous supervisor for the job that I worked 3 years. So I think anyone that knows you for a long time and especially can speak to your work ethic, how you are as an employee, as a student, to speak about you in terms of a long-term track record is really valuable. I also had a professor who I worked for as a TA and RA for 2 years. But one I thought was kind of interesting was actually my instructor for a Python bootcamp I took to fulfill the coding or CS aspect of the requirement of this application. And so I think it really is very open-ended in terms of who you can ask, but someone who can speak to how well-rounded you are as an applicant, and especially your drive and passion and the things that you have done to support those for a degree like this, to someone who can speak to that alignment is very valuable.
Agreed. Okay, last question for me. Why did you choose CDS? Any takers?
Okay, I'll start, I guess.
Thank you.
Many reasons. The first one's very obvious. It's got an amazing reputation in this very niche of an industry. Data science hasn't been a thing that has been around forever. It's really become to form its own concept in the recent decade, I would say, or maybe even later than that. But if you ask around, and by the time I did, and I was evaluating between my acceptances, it really was the gold standard. And I also liked that it's asking us to complete a very well-rounded curriculum to build up that strong foundation. And I could see that being something that differentiates myself in the workforce after I graduate. I loved that it's in New York City, like the amount of opportunities that in itself has to offer, particularly for someone who has worked in finance and will potentially continue to do that. So that in itself was a draw. And I think in my country, NYU, well, in Shanghai, especially, NYU has a great alumni reputation. I've known many like either international or domestic companies in Shanghai that speak highly of NYU alums and have a preference for hiring them after. So that's an element I considered. And I think overall, it was just all of these factors together makes the school a very easy choice.
Yeah, I could go next. For me, is when I was getting in, the reasons have since have added on, but when I was getting in, there were three main reasons for me. One was electives, and that's something I also wrote in my SOP, like the difference and the choice that I saw when I was going through it. was something that really interested me because I thought I could pursue whatever I wanted to in whichever field I was interested in. The second one was that it was a 2-year program, so it felt like, as compared to other like 1.5-year programs, it wouldn't be as rushed. And the way the program was structured, it would give me enough time to build upon my foundationals and then explore my avenues. So those were like my primary reasons. And of course, NYU had a big name, so it really helped.
So the reason I chose CDS was I had two reasons. Geological location was really important for me because I wanted to continue my full-time job while enrolled in a master's program, and I also wanted to be enrolled in a program where I can I can build up a very solid foundation in both math and technical skills, because those are the two things that I do not possess from my undergrad background. So I've been doing like a lot of research, compared like different options that I had, like self-study, boot camp, other master's program, and I started comparing curriculums, particularly because I realized that a lot of programs, some are more focused on stats, some are more focused on CS. It was hard to find a program that balances these two subjects very well, but NYU was one of the best ones that I could find, and I was very lucky that I got enrolled.
Yay. Okay, thank you guys so much. So there's one question here. Hold on, I'm trying to scroll down. Question for the panel. So for the folks who had jobs before the master's, what motivated you to go back to school, and how have your career goals changed because of NYU? Ooh, that's a good question.
What motivated me to come back to school was that I was working as a data manager and then data analyst, where I worked with data closely, but not on the level that I wanted to like work with. So I wanted to equip myself with the skills and the knowledge that I could work more closely with data. So I decided to come back to the master's program.
So similar story with me. I was an investment analyst. So a lot of, PowerPoint and Excel, but I wanted to get into coding, and the company I was at was just not taking an initiative to push their workforce to adopt these kind of skills. But more specifically, like why I went back to school instead of just finding another job was like Hannah, I was working with data day in and day out. And I wanted to learn ways to understand them intelligently, to apply the tools intelligently, because anyone can code lines and run models. But I think it's like, especially in this industry that today, it's very critical to know why you're making every choice you're making, the context behind the data problems, and your strategy of solving them. So it's not just getting it done for the purpose of getting it done kind of thing. It's a lot of thinking. It's a lot of academic knowledge on statistics. And I felt that wasn't something that going to another job wasn't necessarily going to give me. I wanted to learn the brightest of the minds in this industry. I loved how this CDS program has professors from all walks of sectors, all walks of life. And it's really that interdisciplinariness that attracted me when I first learned about it. How my career goals have changed, I would say I became a lot more open-ended. I saw when I came in, and I wrote about this in my personal statement as well, I was very clear and focused on learning, ways to leverage analytics to take my career in investment management or finance further. But now I'm thinking about many things. I'm thinking about healthcare or consulting because of the capstone project that I'm involved with, working for a doctor/professor at NYU Langone. And I think these exposures had been such pleasant surprises for learning about my own ability and ambitions. And really, there's data in any industry, and having the skill set and mastery to know how to deal with them, the sky is the limit in terms of where you can go, and how you can form your interests. Yeah, the possibilities are endless, and I'm very excited about that and that change in myself.
Beautiful.
I really relate with that because when I first came in, the reason I decided to apply for the master's was more because I wanted to kind of know the math and the stats behind a lot of these models. Something I noticed that in the industry is that people just kind of like install the package and then run it without really understanding what's going on, like why they should be running one thing over the other. And I didn't want to be someone who just like doesn't really understand what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. So that was like the main motivation. And when I first came in, I had a similar idea that I would continue working in data science, but in finance and the consulting space. But after almost 1 to 2 years here, I think the thing that has changed the most is that I feel more capable. I feel like I actually have value and I know how to do a lot more. So now I think I'm trying to use my 2 years of experience at NYU to try to apply things to like startups or actually like solve problems that exist versus just trying to like enter an industry and wait for someone else to give me a prompt. So I think that like the shift in mindset has been really important for me.
Amazing. I think Aryan, I don't know I think you were answering one, but I lost it. It was about coursework. What did the question say?
On the chat,
Yeah.
it was which coursework has been the best for you.
Yeah. You want to say what you answered?
Yeah, so for me, I've really liked probability and statistics, both 1 and 2. So the second one was offered as elective, but coming in, I did not think that I would like probability as much as I did. And I thought I'd just be like, yeah, if I can code it, I'd be good. But learning the math behind those things and understanding like statistical significance from like the true math perspective was really helpful. And I also felt like big data that I took, there's a core course for me in the previous semester, was something that has had many use cases in different things because of the tools and tech that we used, which I feel is going to be very helpful for like my career ahead.
Yeah.
I've only taken 6 courses.
Anyone else want to mention a course you really like or think has been really helpful? Or is it all prob and stats?
No, Stats was an amazing course. I agree. But I have something else to add as well. So I took an elective in my second semester under the the School of Applied Statistics at NYU with Professor Jennifer Hill on causal inference. I'm currently TAing for her now because I just loved it so much. I wanted a free opportunity to go back and learn it again. So causal inference was something that I was interested in my undergraduate, but for whatever reason, I never really took it further. And she taught it from the angle of policymaking. So it was very tangible in the motivation every time I show up to her lecture, why it is important to learn this knowledge. Because you're using something that is the outcome of data processing and analysis to make policies that directly impact people's lives. And I thought that angle and that experience that she brought from her time doing real work like that was just insanely valuable. And it's not something you can get everywhere. And the nuanceness that she taught these common causal inference approaches and frameworks with that unique perspective of her experience, of the experience of people that she worked with. Also she gave us, kind of, she didn't teach on this, but we had talks from her of the current work she was doing, combining machine learning and causal inference, which is a hard thing to do because there's a lot of element of that black boxness in machine learning. So like trying to make progress in that, in the interpretation of different models and the causal relevance of those, like I thought it was just like a once in a lifetime opportunity to learn from somebody like that.
That's awesome. I'm sure she'd love to hear it. She would be so happy to hear what you said. Yeah. Let's see. There was one more in here. I'll just do one more because we're over time now. I think I lost it. Okay. So yeah, we'll just close it there, but I'm going to stick around for a few more minutes to answer some of these more general questions that are in the chat. But I think these are all you guys covered, most of the student questions already. So thank you so much, admissions ambassadors. You guys are wonderful as usual. Folks, attendees that are here, our ambassadors do have an email alias. So if you want to ask more questions and learn more from the student perspective, you are welcome to reach out to them. The page is on our website, MS Admissions Ambassadors, under the master's program webpage. So feel free to, check that out there. So you guys are free to go, but if you'd like to stick around and answer more questions in the chat, feel free. I am going to answer a few more here. So just to cover, there's a lot of questions about letters of recommendations in here still, about our academic letters versus professional, like letters from supervisors and things like that. Is one preferred over the other? One is not preferred over the other. It all depends on your own experience. Obviously, if you're coming straight out of undergrad and you don't have a job, obviously we're looking for recommendations from your faculty or professors. But if you had some time away from school, then of course we're going to understand that you will likely be submitting letters from your supervisors or people that you have worked with. But if you do submit letters from someone a professor you had previously, that is also perfectly fine as well. But there is no preference for either. It all depends on your own personal circumstances and what makes the most sense for your application. Questions on MOOCs, online courses, certificates, we do accept them as substitutions to coursework at a university. The stipulation with that is that you must ensure that they are credit or certificate bearing. So that is the only way we can verify that you actually completed the coursework. So if you are choosing to take these online courses, please make sure that you will receive some type of credit or certification from it. There is no preference for if someone submits those like extra courses versus if someone doesn't. So if you took courses in university and then you decide to take more stuff in Coursera, then that's, you're not going to receive any preference for that. It's encouraged and can like perhaps boost or improve your application, but that doesn't necessarily automatically give you a preference over someone else. Some suggested ones, I think Chen mentioned that she did EDX, Udemy, Coursera are other ones. So if it exists, we'll probably accept it again, as long as you receive credit or certification from it. Let's see what else is in here. Okay, so this initial question, please enlighten about different schools at NYU. Can you apply for 3 programs? I will confirm that CDS, so data science program, and NYU Quran, so the CS or math program or other programs under NYU Quran are all a part of NYU GSAS. So you can only submit 1 application to NYU GSAS. So if you are deciding between data science or computer science, you have to choose one. You cannot apply to both. Tandon does also have a computer science program and other programs in the STEM field. So you can apply to complete a separate application for any Tandon programs, but you can only submit 1 application per school, not multiple applications. And then to add to that, you can also only accept 1 program. So if you get admitted to both GSAS and Tandon, you cannot accept both. You can only accept 1. There's no dual or joint program currently in existence. What else is here? People that are still taking classes that won't be completed by the time you apply. So let's say you complete your application in January, but you're still enrolled in courses. That's totally fine. Please submit, your transcript noting that you are currently enrolled in those courses, or some type of documentation showing that you are enrolled in an online course of some sort, so that we know that you are in progress for completing those. You can submit those certifications. Anything that you are submitting can be submitted through the application system. So when you go in, you have the option of uploading your transcript. There's also an option for additional documents where you can submit these certifications or other things that you want to upload to try and amplify your application. Okay. I feel like there's still more questions coming as I answer them. Okay, someone asking about research experience on your resume. Obviously, like, it would be great if you have it, but it's not a requirement. So if you have it, definitely include it on there, but it's not a requirement for the master's program. Statement of purpose. So a few of you are asking how you can help your stand out in the application. So that would be through your statement of purpose and your letters of recommendation. So I think that what I mentioned earlier about, like, don't just give like some general summary of like why you're interested in data science, like really emphasize what exactly interests you about the field. Like, is there a particular area of study that you're interested in, intrigued by? Are there faculty here that you're interested in working with? What do you want to do with this degree after you graduate? Things like that will help demonstrate like why you're different compared to others. And then your letters of recommendation, I cannot stop emphasizing that as well. They really are going to be considered heavily, especially if you feel there are gaps in your application. Otherwise, the people that are recommending you, their word is taken very seriously. So make sure that you are picking individuals that are going to give you a good recommendation. If you previously applied and were not accepted and are reapplying now, unfortunately, I can't really speak on that, but I would just say if you perhaps had gaps in your application before, then this would be your opportunity to try and help fill that in. But unfortunately, I think what you have to keep in mind is that the the people that are applying now versus those that are applied, it's going to differ every time. So you're competing with a different group of people every time you apply. So it really does depend on a lot of factors. It may not really necessarily have anything to do with you specifically. It's just very competitive process. Okay, and see. So someone asked if you wanted to pursue an MBA after the master's. I mean, I'm sure it would, but I think this would be a better question for Stern. So maybe reach out to them. Right, if you didn't do so well in some courses and then you retook those classes, then we do take into account the new grade that you took. But obviously, again, if you have any gaps in your application, this is something that you want to highlight in your statement or your personal history statement. And you know, I think I'm gonna cut it off there. There's a lot of like repetitive questions here. So if you have anything that was not covered here in the session, please feel free to email us. But also, again, I'm going to emphasize, please read through the website. Please read through the GSAS Application Resource Center. A lot of your questions are answered there. Especially questions about the statement of purpose, like things like this, letters of rank. A lot of the criteria are very detailed, answered on the website. Questions about degree eligibility, that is all listed there. Please reach out to GSAS. Any other questions, please email us. Thank you so much. Hope everyone has a good day. Thank you again to our ambassadors for joining. Appreciate your time. And that's all.